I need money on steroids because if I've got this expectation of having a home, the only thing that can get me there maybe is Bitcoin. I don't know another investment that will let you keep up faster. If everything's getting expensive relative to the money that you're using, then maybe there might be another currency out there where things are getting cheaper. The hard part about Bitcoin is that we're used to money being correlated with physical effort. Typically, you go to work, you get paid. Now, Bitcoin's sort of this cerebral asset. It goes, the sooner you like me, the more money I'm gonna give you. So the faster you learn about me, the more I'm gonna pay you. If I could invest in something that everyone is going to require forever, if they sold shares in the internet when it came out, would you go buy some? You're buying the future. That's what Bitcoin is. It's investing in the bedrock of the future.
You said earlier before we started, you were like, you saw Bitcoin at $10?
$10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 is coming up.
What's the most amount of money you've seen someone just make in this Bitcoin world?
I've seen...
For someone listening to this, like who doesn't have a position with crypto, like let's say Bitcoin, who are some key people that people could follow, whether it's on X or...
I'm going to give you bangers, straight shots to the dome, links, all this. The first book you need to read is called...
Danny, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
Next door neighbours.
Next door neighbours. Can you believe this? How good is that?
So good to see you.
Yeah, dude, this has been like, I reckon 20 years. I've been to San Francisco. You moved out to where? You're
Byron.
Yeah, mad, sick. Like everything's changed, but mate, it's good to see you. Podcast.
100%.
Yeah.
So recently you told me I was looking to get into crypto.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Your phone probably blows up 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
And you go to Independent Reserve, the exchange.
Yeah.
And so I went to go make it like a position with Independent Reserve.
Yeah.
And I went to ANZ first to my bank to do a telegraphic transfer. This is like pre getting a position, right? I make the telegraphic transfer. I thought I made it.
Yep.
ANZ called me that night.
Yeah.
You've been scammed.
Yeah.
I said,
oh.
And I said, what do you mean? They said, this BSB and account number, it's scammy. Let's cancel.
Yes.
So I was like, fucking cancel.
Yeah, of course cancel. That's a precaution. It's not scammy. Yeah.
Then
okay.
I speak to my account manager at Independent Reserve and he goes, we're used to this.
Yeah.
So I went 2 days later, did it again.
Yeah.
Called me up again.
Yeah.
You've been scammed.
Yeah.
And so it was such a stressful position to get a position.
Yeah, it is exhausting to participate. That's the biggest problem. It is really hard. And, you know, people actually do get scammed. But the thing is, what's happened is, and the reason why you got that is because essentially what happens is the banks, scammers love crypto and Bitcoin because it's irreversible. So if I steal your money from a bank account, I get let's say I get access to your NAB account or whatever. I can transfer my money, your money to me, but NAB's going to know where it went and they can call the other NAB branch or the ANZ branch or whatever it is. So there's sort of some window for recourse, but with Bitcoin and crypto, there's none. So what happens is when you create an exchange, you attract every person with a stolen bank account because they can transfer the money to you and then turn it into Bitcoin and send it to them. And now it's actually theirs instead of sitting in some stolen Westpac account or whatever. And so what happens is as the exchange operator, so that was what I used to do in San Francisco, you would have all these people signing up and connecting, like all these different bends. And you'd be like, oh man, we got lots of users. And then everyone's trying to max buy. They're trying to buy $1,000 or 10,000, whatever the daily limit is. And you're like, this is awesome, traction. And then you go through and you give them the coins or whatever. And then a week later, the bank calls you and says, hey, that was actually a scam. We've reversed the payments. So they pull the payments from the exchange. So the exchange, Independent Reserve, would have the money pulled out. If you were a scammer, they would have that amount. Let's say you transferred $100,000 from someone else's account, scamming them, and you bought Bitcoin with it, that $100,000 will come back from Independent Reserve's balance sheet back to the bank. Meaning when you are depositing, they've got to be ultra strict because they've got to know that it's you saying you're you behind the computer. Otherwise, they can be on the hook for whatever you're scamming. And that's why there's all so much friction to get onboarded, which is exhausting. It's terrible. And it's really intimidating as well. So if you get this thing that says you've been scammed, the reason they say that is because the banks got flooded with so many people trying to deposit to these exchanges. Most of the time they were scammers, and that cost the banks so much money to deal with them because they're not making money just passing your 100 grand from there to there. That costs them money when that 100 grand wasn't yours. Now there's a whole legal thing they've got to give a shit about. It's too hard. So the blanket approach is, look, there's so many damn scams. Just tell everyone they're a scammer. And then if they call through, then yeah, sure, they can go through and deposit. But they put up all these barriers basically as a catch-all, like a very blunt object to solve the problem sort of thing. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. It's going terribly because ask any exchange operator, they'd rather a bullet in the head than this stuff. Like it's just the worst. So anyway, Australia back to, with inflation and trying to get money and, buying crypto and trying to avoid the current system or have an alternative, let's say. People are trying to escape. It's very much like the Titanic right now. And it's very hard to see this in society. But if you look at the data and exchange operators, it looks like people are trying to escape like a sinking ship. It literally is like that. And that's the best way, the best mental model to have for it.
Sorry, do you mean escaping the
fiat system? Yeah. Well, let's talk property for a sec. Why would I buy property? What's better, to store my money in property or store my money in Westpac?
Well,
we're going to say, let's say I've got a 10-year time horizon. We're probably going to say that property is going to do better than the 4.2% at Westpac, inclicking inflation or whatever, right?
But let's just add to that. Bitcoin. Yeah. I went to ChatGPT yesterday because now I'm in Bitcoin.
You're all over it, drinking from the fire hose. Yeah, 100%.
And I wrote into ChatGPT over the last 10 years, how has BDC performed compared to all other asset classes? But apart from them saying the volatility, 27,000% over the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's got an average return, I think, of if you've ever bought it and held it for 4 years or longer, you've never not made money. Does that make sense? So if you buy it and try and win tomorrow, I hope you lose. That's the kind of thing. So step up, you're going to get slapped around big time. But if you buy it and go, you know what? Maybe all these people that have made a lot of time and effort to produce, all this material and understand it, maybe they're not wrong. Maybe they've got something behind there. And so the hard part about Bitcoin is that we're used to money being correlated with physical effort. Typically, you go to work, you get paid. Now, Bitcoin's sort of this cerebral asset where it goes, I'll give you, the sooner you like me, the more money I'm going to give you. And that's kind of the relationship that it has. So the faster you learn about me, the more I'm going to pay you. So it's like this dude really trying to grab your attention, that Bitcoin is. And so that's sort of the way it works. It says, well, if you do the work and you study and you're patient and understand it and willing to learn, then there's something as a really big carrot for you on the other side. And for anyone listening, the carrot hasn't stopped. Bitcoin is, yes, it's $100,000. Guys, this ship is sinking. You're talking to terminally ill money right now. I'm not going to say, hey, let's plan my grandpa's birthday when he's got cancer and the doctors told me he's terminally ill. It's probably not the right idea because he's about to die. And I'll probably say, well, that's a bit of a waste of money to plan a birthday if I know he's going to die and I'm looking at him dying and the funeral's coming up. It doesn't make any sense. Same way, people are getting absolutely slaughtered right now. So what do people do? We go, okay, well, money's terrible. I'm going to start punting on stocks. And now everyone's got, trading accounts and everyone's trying to figure out how to trade and they're jumping in and out of trades. And then you talk to your accountant in the end of the year and you've traded 100,000 different trades of jumping in and this and that. Be lazy, learn about Bitcoin, buy it. And if in 10 years, I will say this. If you have not made more money in 10 years than your principal investment, I'll give you back your principal investment.
Every person that I've met who's been, and I haven't met that many people, but in terms of who've been roasted by Bitcoin,
yes,
they've all sold. When it's dropped, they've shat themselves.
Yes.
I'll just take my loss for where it is. And you said earlier before we started, you were like, you saw Bitcoin at $10?
$10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 is coming up.
Michael Saylor says it's going to go to 13 million. You reckon?
Oh, more than that. What I'm telling you is sort of, don't think of it like you're investing in Westpac shares or you're buying some mad ticker code on the ASX that your buddy's got a leg up on. This is the wheel, and you can buy royalties in the wheel. Think of it that way. The wheel comes out 5,000 years ago. Some dude goes, I should slice the wheel and its royalties up into 21 million pieces. And if you're holding any piece of a piece, then you get a kickback on anyone using a wheel. That sounds like a pretty good trade. I'm not smart, but that to me sounds like a great trade. If I could invest in something that everyone is going to require forever, if they sold shares in the internet when it came out, would you go buy some? Let's say we could wind the clock back. You had a teleport. Every internet business, you get a cut of if you owned one share of the 21 million pieces of the internet. If we did it that way, you'd be like, well, yeah, I want an upside in Spotify, Instagram, Apple, Meta, Facebook, ChatGPT, everything. You're buying the future. That's what Bitcoin is. It's investing in the bedrock of the future. And so like, let's have a conversation in terms of property. So a lot of people want to put their money into property. Great. That's mad. I'm lazy. I couldn't think of anything worse. I don't want to talk to a tenant. I don't want to give a fuck about taxes, landlords, this, that. Give a fuck. Wear a suit. Give a fuck. I'm over it, bro. Buy Bitcoin, outperform them, do less, find your peace, find your happiness, find your purpose. You can't find your purpose if you're dealing with landlords all day and trying to figure out tax code. Oh, hold on. I'm just thinking about something really profound. Oh, yeah, what was that, Jimmy? You need the 2.5% stamp duty because the government put it up and now we can't buy it in super because there's property issues and there's capital gains, unrealized capital gains tax in property coming up. It's like, shoot me. Give me your bullet. I'll shoot me like twice. It's exhausting. I'm tired thinking about it, but not everyone is. Some people love that. Be busy, do it. No worries. If you're lazy and you want to make more money than anybody else, preserve your wealth better than anyone else, buy Bitcoin. Easy.
I've historically always bought property.
Yeah.
And now I've changed. So I'm actually not going to be investing in property now. I'm going to be accumulating in BTC.
It is the reason why I'm so surprised more property people don't jump on it. I think one of the burdens of, at least in Sydney, the property has been so good.
And it's a cultural thing.
Absolutely. It's such a fantastic performing asset. It is really good. It's been a great thing. We've got a great mortgage broking industry and all this it all sort of is working to bubble up stuff. But I think people are just going to get lazier where they're like, you know what? I can make heaps of money in property. It's like, yeah, you can. But like, imagine being able to buy digital property. So if you think of it's like I always drive past like Royal Sydney or Wallara Golf Course and be like, oh, imagine they sold just one hole and then they could make $1 billion worth of apartments there, because that's what it's like. That's what buying Bitcoin is. It's like buying Royal Sydney in 1900 and being like, I wonder if this is going to be valuable in 100 years. It's real estate. And that's why it's literally a scarce, finite resource. They can't make any more of them. And instead of saying, we can't build any more properties on the beach because you can visually see that the beach doesn't have any more room, Bitcoin's got that, but it's encoded in computer science. So instead of visually seeing the beach is finished and we can't put more properties there, we can see the code base says there is only 21 million spots available, and that's one for each Bitcoin. And so every Bitcoin, there's 21 million of them. Oh, well, not everyone can have one. No, but it's like $1 is divisible into 100 cents. One Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million Satoshis. So even if a Bitcoin goes to $100 million, I can still buy $1 cup of coffee. It's gnarly, dude. It's gnarly. It's cool.
For someone listening to this, who doesn't have a position with crypto, let's say Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We were talking about Michael Saylor. Who are some key people that people could follow, whether it's on X or YouTube? Who are some key influencing people?
I think really good voices in the space. If you're learning and really trying to look, the big question is to learn, you've got to be ready to understand what is money. That is it. Because right now we think money is what? What is money? It's this paper thing. Why is it valuable? Have you ever asked yourself why it's valuable? Have you ever asked yourself why you're committing 30, 50, 60 years of your life to get this thing? Do you think it's worth asking, hold on, I've gone to the school, I've got the degree, I'm doing the job, I've done the internship. Do I want this thing that I'm trying to, this is the scoreboard apparently. Money is the scoreboard. So it's sort of like, well, it better be worth something. If I'm putting in all my marbles onto this, then I hope it's going to be worth the outcome. And so I think people need to really investigate that question first, because your money is only as good as whatever it can bring you, right? And so if your money is starting to melt, it's not carrying you you can't go as far in a bus. You can't go as far in a plane. And what I mean by that is if everything's getting expensive relative to the money that you're using, then maybe there might be another currency out there where things are getting cheaper. So wouldn't it be nice if it was like, hey, if you buy that, let's say you buy this car today in 3 years' time, you could buy 4 of those cars. That's the money standard that I'm offering you with Bitcoin. Now, with your standard of money, you probably won't be able to buy the same car in 3 years. The latest, let's call it the latest 7 Series BMW cost X. Now, in 3 years' time, the latest 7 Series BMW, it's going to cost more than X. Now, yes, they're 2 different cars, but what I'm talking about is one product on the shelf. I'm talking about basically the pricing of the product. And so if I look at the property prices, let's say I wanted to buy a property. Now, if I was an Australian dollar holder, the property prices have gone up dramatically, right? So, if I'm holding Australian dollars, if I'm on a Bitcoin standard, I've just been watching everything getting cheaper. So 10 years ago, to buy my property, it would have been 650 Bitcoins. 5 years ago, it would have been 140 Bitcoins. And now today, it's about 6. The trend is your friend. And like to anyone listening, just follow that. The trend is your friend. And if you want to understand Bitcoin, just look at it, measure it against housing prices, because that's probably the most aggressive way to show the strength of Bitcoin. This thing is the closest thing to alien technology that I've ever seen in my life.
What's the most amount of money you've seen someone just make in this Bitcoin world that's like, hasn't been like a get rich quick, like someone that you've seen has been dedicated to it?
Just been dedicated learning and just chipping away.
Yeah, chipping away and like, because you obviously spent time in the US, which we're going to get to. I'm keen to know like,
billions. Majority of people have made like almost, or and I don't mean like, people have invested that into their families or their, friends or purpose things and all these kind of different things. So I'm not saying they've still got them all, but yeah, definitely I've seen, everyone turn into millionaires, billionaires. Just the insane level of wealth transfer is gnarly. It's like, it really is watching all the wealth drain out of one system and go into the new system. And it's funny because you see it coming from different angles. You see young people trying to get ahead. If you're trying to buy a house now, the old narrative was, go get some work experience, get a uni degree, save and buy a house. You can't do that now. We used to, in our parents' age, when we got taught that, it was roughly, anywhere between 2.5 to 4.5 times the annual income to purchase a home. Now, in our society today, if you're living in Sydney, it's close to 16 to 20 times amount to purchase a home. So obviously, that relationship with that whole narrative is broken now because I've got to do 6 or 5 times the work that my parents did in order to live that same happy path of life. So now people are forced to make different decisions. Well, I need money on steroids because if I've got this expectation of having a home, the only thing that can get me there maybe is Bitcoin. I don't know another investment that will let you keep up faster. I don't think there's one out there. And all I do is look all day for one that makes it easier.
I totally agree with you. I was with a girl yesterday who was in Gen Z.
Yeah.
So she's younger.
So she's an asshole, yeah.
And,
I'm joking. They're actually really good people. They're smart as fuck, by the way.
They're getting smarter. But what I was thinking about, if I was Gen Z, you're right. Like,
you don't have a choice. You do not have a choice.
Bitcoin is your way to become filthy rich.
Bitcoin is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a don't get poor slowly scheme. And or something like there's some saying about it, but what it does, it's just a grind. So set the 10-year goal, forget the 1-month goal, forget the 6-month goal. That's just life doesn't work like that. So change the frame of reference. For anyone listening, I mean that if you're setting your goals and you're 17 or you're 20 years old and you want to outperform your friends or be better or do better or break your generational curses, whatever it is, Bitcoin is the starting point.
I want to rewind the clock back a bit. Take me back pre-San Francisco. So before you actually decided to go there,
right.
What were you doing in Sydney?
I was working at a company called Midwinter Financial. They were awesome. They worked there doing financial plan or paraplanning it was called. So that's where a financial planner presents you the plan of, hey, you want to give us all this money. Here's the strategy and a formalized strategy in a document so that it's sort of from a compliance purpose, it says, hey, you put my money here and I agreed that we both want you to put my money there. It's formalizing basically, hey, Ben, you've got $1 million and you want to make money. I'm putting 600 grand into Bitcoin. 300 grand is going to pay off that mortgage part, and the other 100 grand we're going to keep for tax or whatever it is. But formalizing that, because you can't do that without formal documentation. Yep. And what that teaches you is, as you're going through assembling these statements of advice, you start seeing all the different investment vehicles that people are choosing, using, and just, it's like a data problem, right? If you read 1,000 comments on YouTube or watch 1,000 YouTube videos, you start understanding the structure of those YouTube videos, or the structure of comments, or the demeanor, or the sentiment. Same thing. So as you start looking, like, here's a funny thing. The worst way to get insurance, like the worst way, is to be an abalone diver or a trapeze artist and a smoker. And that was one of the funny things when I was looking through different insurance policies. I was like, how fucked can the insurance industry get? Like, what's the worst dude to insure? And it was an abalone diver. And I was like, why the fuck? What's wrong with abalone? Are they poisonous? No, seals eat abalone and sharks eat seals. And that's because all the abalone divers, you go down, it's like, did Jimmy come back? I don't know. I think it was one of those days. There was a couple of great whites out there, and that's literally it. Like great white shark hunting, where you're competing. The sharks are hunting their food, and the food that their food is hunting, you're trying to snake that from them. So yeah, you get in the crossfires. And then obviously trapeze artists, those Cirque du Soleil cats that, whip themselves around, then the net wasn't there and they fell on the floor. And anyway, but that was my experience was working at a software company that did the practice management. So if you're a financial advice practice, and the portfolio management stuff. So nothing super technical from a finance perspective, probably more software, but always interesting just to have a kind of to understand, if you're doing 10 of these plans a day, you're starting to see 10 people a day is sort of the way that, and you're not looking at like their personal information, like, oh, what is that person? Where do they live? It's more just, this is the flavor. The people that are earning 200K a year, they're seeing this kind of advice. The people that are getting $1 million a year, they're seeing that kind of advice. The people with 20 grand a year. And you start sort of being able to draw the landscape kind of thing, because you're seeing a lot of these different advice pieces go out, and it just helps you kind of gauge, okay, how are things going in the market? What are people trending towards? Why are they doing that? What are the levers that are pulling people to make decisions and stuff? So interesting though. Why San Francisco after that? Okay, best way to explain it. So while I was working at Midwinter, me and two of my closest friends, we started a competitor to was sort of Groupon at the time. Remember Groupon and all that? So what it was sort of like that. But the problem with Groupon was, let's say you and I go on a date and I'm like, yeah, let's go to like Catalina or whatever. And it's like really fancy. And it's like, oh, cool. And we sit down. It's like, oh, hi, thank you. Oh, no, I've got this. And you pull out the piece of paper and you're like, oh, can we get the deal for 1 glass of champagne and 1 entree, please? You're obviously going to be like, bro, what are you doing? And so that's a bit of an awkward interaction. And so what we did was we changed it to be, let's not make it a 75% discount, because Groupon and all that shit with these gnarly discounts, right? Now, that's not that profitable for the business. It's basically an advertising exercise, but it's a terrible one. And so you don't get repeat customers. You get basically bottom feed, like just people that are looking to grab the deal. 2 cupcakes for 50 cents. Fuck yeah, I like cupcakes. Done. You're never going to see me again because you charge $4 per cupcake, but when it's 50 cents, I'm your guy. And so that was problematic because there's no future business retention. And so that's obviously, it's exciting and, branding and stuff, but there's not actually adding to the bottom line. And so what we decided was, well, let's take all the high-end restaurants and instead of saying 75% off, let's go 20% off. But you never show anything. So all the booking, when you book through us, everything is handled so that when the bill comes, you don't go, hey, no. Oh, sorry, we got this coupon, and you pull this shitty piece of paper that's scrunched up that you had to print off 6 days ago because your last date canceled or whatever, and now it's still scrunched up in your pocket. It's already applied directly to the bottom of the bill. You would pay us $10 for the booking, and we give you 20% off your entire bill, no questions asked. That's it. Now, how does that work? Well, you don't mind paying $10 for the booking, because if you're taking you and 5 co-workers to Catalina or to some other mad restaurant, this is, 12 years ago, 15 years ago or something longer. Anyway, but if you're going to a high-end restaurant, you've got clients, you're loving taking them to somewhere splashy, but you can actually afford it. Now it's a tax write-off. So the idea was that every restaurant is not permanently full forever. Like that's a pipe dream. You will have spare tables. The problem is every restaurant staffs like they're going to be mostly full, or sometimes they do. And the idea was that, look, the burners are on, there's waiters standing there. It's better to monetize the tables at 20% off, And no one knows that, but you know that your business, but it's better to have full people in a restaurant, a bit of atmosphere, even if it meant a bit less to your bottom line, because that can still cover your fixed costs. If you've got the burners going to serve 100 people, but you've got 20 in there, you've got 3 waiters on staff, you may as well put them to work. They're fixed costs. The lights have got to be on. Make as much money as you can while you keep the lights on. And without compromising your brand and all these, ancillary or, side priorities that they might have. And so that teaches you a lot about stuff, because what we're trying to do, we're trying to build this restaurant booking platform basically to compete with Groupon. And it was such an amazing learning curve. Me and the guys, Joe and AJ, or AJ, yeah, still awesome. So anyway, those guys we're working on that, and it came to kind of crunch time where it was, because I was still working full time. So at lunchtime, I'd go around to restaurants in the city, on my lunch break, to go door knocking, being like, oh, hi, we've got this new software platform, blah, 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 blah. And you go in the whole pitch. But that was just the hustle. And then at nighttime, we were building it, and we had another team member that was, an outsourced software developer that was working with us as well. But it was just fun. You're just trying to figure shit out. You know what I mean? And that's exciting. And that's what gives you the bug. And so back to your original question, why do you go to San Fran? It's well, when we did that, we got I don't know, maybe 40 or 50,000 users. Uber came to Australia. We launched with Uber, we launch partner with Uber. So that Uber didn't exist at the time. And that's so this idea of going to Catalina's with work clients, and I say Catalina as an example, but just for imagery, you go to Catalina's work clients, you've had a private car pick you up, and you've got 20% off your bill, all without saying a word to any client or anything like that. That's really powerful. And now Catalina's or whatever the restaurant, they're getting another 10 grand in. One of the biggest bills we had, and people used to upload them to Facebook when they get them. It was a $14,000 bill, and they paid $10 for the reservation, because it was $10 flat fee. We don't take a commission on the bill and stuff, and we probably could have and all that. But yeah, it was $10, and they had a $14,000 lunch. And so they're getting 20% off. The restaurant's happy because they weren't going to, that's a $12,000 lunch that wasn't going to even exist before. And so now they're or $11,200 or whatever, but that's exciting to them. So they've got $11,200 worth of revenue. Make it work. If you can't make money on that, you're going to have to, your business is wrong already. The client is thrilled because they've just taken their people to the best restaurant. They're not getting dinged full price. And they're fuck, this is a great trade. It cost me $10 to save $2.5 grand. That's awesome. And so that whole startup journey was okay, that's really cool. But Australia is quite limited, right? To be the best and the best of the best, to make the biggest impact, the most you'll ever get is 26 million users. And so it's okay, well, actors go to Hollywood, nerds go to San Francisco. That was the idea. It's if you want to be the best actor in the world, you're not going to become the best actor working at the theater company down in Bondi and trying to make it big. You got to get out there, and you got to go over into the lion's den basically and see if you can survive. Because if you can survive in the environment where the best in the world are, that's like training, right? In the military, they put you through training that's going to make sure that you can withstand probably over and above what you're expected to out in the field or whatever. Obviously, you're not going to get trained on how to get shot. But for example, in the Navy, you're going to drown proofing yourself or, practicing drowning. You need to experience it so that you can help someone recover from it or all that kind of stuff. So basically, I felt like that would be the smartest thing. Startups have 0% chance of success or 0.0001. You may as well try and make it 0.2% by moving country and seeing how it goes and putting yourself around the venture capital, around the smart people, around the talented engineers, if you want to try and to give yourself the best chance of success.
Did you know what you're going to get into?
Nope.
So you just said...
So I went over with we had a different idea. So the guys we were working on with Full Society, the company was called Full Society. When we moved off that, so we ended up selling that or basically transferring that to a company called timeout.com that does what's hot in your city. And they use that as they already had a restaurant booking thing and they were going to plug that into there. But it wasn't so much about the money, but it was the experience we got, which was learning about starting, building, selling or creating value and actually producing something that wasn't there before. And so in that, I was fuck, I've got to let's go bigger. Let's see how big can you go? And so when we went to America, I'd heard about Bitcoin already. This is I went in 2013, but I'd heard about it from video game mates and stuff online that were talking about the idea that there's this new internet currency coming. And or it's it's here, but it's going to be a thing.
How much was it then? when you first got wind about it?
Oh, like when I first saw something, I think I saw like the lowest price I think I would have seen was like $7 or something, but I wasn't, I was still I wasn't in then or anything, but it's just, it's interesting because it's like now you look back at it like, oh, think about that. And it's like at the time you were just like, oh, this is so cool. Like, oh man, like if you're a nerd, like it's a pain in the ass having buying equipment in one game and that equipment being totally useless or I can't transfer it to another game. It's like you bought the big axe in World of Warcraft. Cool, now buy the big axe over here. How do I buy it? Oh, do you take World of Warcraft gold tokens? No, we take zombie tombi tokens. And you're like, Danny, you cunts want to take the same fucking token? Or part of my language, sorry, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and that's what I thought Bitcoin was like, oh, sick. So you fucking idiots don't need to all make your own currency. We got one for the internet. And so that was like, that's what got me interested because I like video games heaps. So I was like, oh, that's cool. But then my co-founder and I, when I moved to San Francisco.
Is he Aussie?
No. So I moved to San Francisco with an idea that we wanted to do, which was basically we were looking at this idea at the time. It was a really good idea, but it was just, and the engineering was good, but it was like the market had moved forward from it. And so we're looking at basically what to do. And the person that I first met when I walked in the door at this hacker house, basically called it like an orphanage with Wi-Fi. Think about that for adults. So it's like 20 dudes in like, or 20, I say 15 dudes, 5 girls or something in, a 5-bedroom house or something like that, where it's almost like a uni frat house, but it's more polished and like, people use it as a way, like, I don't want to stay at some expensive hotel, so I'll pay $80 a night at like a hostel. But it's a hostel that's really got a concentration of just nerds, basically, because we're all in the same spot. We're all in San Francisco. So you're not going to see, if you go to a hostel in LA, chances are you ask a couple of people, oh, I'm here, I'm acting, or I'm doing this, I'm a musician. But if you go to San Francisco, oh, I'm here for a job at Facebook, or I'm interviewing with Uber tomorrow, or I'm trying to interview with Andreessen Horowitz, a venture capital firm. And so right when I walked in, like when I walked into this, like I got off the, and by the way, I've got no clue if anything's going to work out. I told my boss at work at Midwinter at the time, I said, hey, I've got no clue if this is going to go well or not. And he goes, dude, you're going to come back either bust or with some mad stories, but either way, you're welcome to come back here. And so I was like, okay, well, that gave me a bit of confidence as well, knowing like my old boss wasn't going to shoot me and he didn't, hate me. So that was a nice way to sort of go off. But yeah, you get there and it's electric.
So
it's like,
how'd you find out about this fucking hacker house?
Oh, I was actually going to live by myself, and then I read online someone talked about a hack house. And one of the things that was really important to me going over was not to find like comfort. So I didn't want to find every Australian that I knew and be like, oh, hey, hi, I'm Australian too. Because that feels like I'm not getting that will automatically, all threads that come from that are only going to be bound to this Australian network. And I thought, no, let's put myself out there a bit, just don't know anyone and try and meet everyone around me because they're all on the same journey as I am right now, all from different walks of life. So there's probably more that I could learn from people that are coming from Michigan and Chicago and Canada and Dubai and Europe than I could from other people that go, yeah, I know Bondi Beach too. That's good for keeping my heart and soul happy, but I feel like my spirit could have learnt more from, people in different circumstances from me. Not bad, just...
You met your co-founder there?
Met my co-founder. He's on the bunk bed above me. He was working in a security company and we were always jamming on ideas and stuff during the day because at the time he was working in a security company. I was working on this idea that I'd come over with. And eventually we kind of got together thinking about different problems to solve. And that's where Bitcoin was still super novel. So this would be 2013 where it's still it's had a big run, but it's not there yet. It's not, the mind share's not there, but it's sort of like a twinkle that people are catching. They're sort of like, what's that thing? It's still twinkling and it's been twinkling for a little while now. And that's kind of what Bitcoin was. And we were building a product basically that allowed you to buy on any website and check out just once. So the idea was you go to Zara, then you go to Walmart, then you go to Amazon, which isn't a problem now because we have Apple Pay and stuff. But at the time, you'd have to do all the address, this, that, da-da-da. And you didn't even have accounts with the providers because it was that early where it wasn't like you log into your Amazon account and just everything's there. It was really every time you want to buy something. And so we were like, well, it'd be way easier to just walk around the internet like a shop, point to that. I want that. I want that. And then you've got one shopping cart checkout. And then you can basically put in, here's the delivery address. Here's my credit card info. And we're like, that's really cool. But it'd be cooler as a novelty to do that same experience on this new cool currency, because technically you could buy everything with Bitcoin through this method. And so the idea was like, hey, go around, use our software to go around and see all the things you want. And when you go to checkout, it will ask you if credit card, or if you're a Bitcoin person, we can take the Bitcoin, because we could just take the Bitcoin, convert it into local currency, and then buy the stuff for the people. And so we were like a middleman almost. And in that process, we said, let's just add Bitcoin as a novelty, and like to see, like, because that was we thought that story in our head was cool. You could buy anything with Bitcoin. And so when we did that, it was just a novelty, but the community just exploded overnight, literally overnight, 48 hours. So we went from doing $100 in transactions to like $5,000 3 days in a row.
So did this platform exist anywhere?
No.
So you guys were first to market?
We were first to market, yeah, to basically make what was the ability to spend and buy, or the ability to spend your Bitcoins anywhere. And so Bitcoin had just gone up. And the reason why we did Bitcoin as well was because Bitcoin had just experienced a massive run up. It had gone from $70 to 700. And so there's no better time for people to spend than when they're in the green. So if we've just had a huge run, our idea was, well, we'll let you buy anything anywhere. Obviously you can't like go buy Hitman, but it was more like a reasonable product, buy t-shirts and shit. But it's like you would go and buy it, we'd take your Bitcoins, convert that to currency, buy the products for you, and they'd show up at your house. And that's like, people like, that was really cool. And we'd add a 2% fee on. So we'd say that's our fee. Now, 2% fee sounds really, bad, but it's like, well, at the time, everyone is 382% up. So that's one thing. So 2% is going to mean they're 380% up, or whatever it is. So that's not, okay, it's stomachable. And then at the time, you couldn't do it anywhere else. So you should charge what it's worth. And that was how we started. What ended up becoming Wire was started just from accidentally adding Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin community really embraced it and us. And we loved that, because it was just me and my co-founder. And we're sitting there getting a million questions. And we're like, fuck yeah, we can add that feature. Okay, cool. And we had 24 hours, headphones on, just staring at our screens, sleeping next to the computer and all this stuff. But it was magic, dude. It was the most magical moment in probably one of the most special times of my life by far.
I remember I came to visit you in San Fran, which was cool, at your office. Yeah. But then I got a message, like, I think it was like a few years ago, where someone's like, Dunworth just sold his fucking company for like 1.5 billion.
Yeah, dude.
And I was
gnarly.
Just like, what?
I know. Because I think when you came, the office, you were at the small office, the little one. So we ended up having a really big space and stuff like that. But yeah, that was gnarly. Like, we built, the team built such an exceptional product, such an exceptional company. And yeah, we had a big conversation around selling the company. So we got the company from, me and him, Yanni and myself, and we scaled it up to sort of, over 100 people. I think we topped out at maybe 120, 125 mil annual revenue.
USD.
Yeah. And so like we were, it was a 10-year journey. And the most beautiful part of it all was like, if Bitcoin is going to become what we think it's going to become, I've gotten to watch it grow in slow motion from the heart of it. Like, because Wire was an infrastructure company, and what our job was basically was people that wanted to start crypto companies or exchanges or wallet services. All these platforms you couldn't, because you needed all these licenses, and there was all this heavy lifting and engineering work that was required. And so we were like, okay, we'll build an exchange. No, don't build an exchange. Everyone else is going to need an exchange. So let's not make it about us. Let's try and white label it and give it to everyone. That way we can get the party going faster. We're planting more seeds. Yes, it means less revenue for us off the bat, but long term, it probably means that the asset in the industry has got a better chance of success. And so when you are on the ground floor, you learn so much about everything, because you're watching it, you're watching it all evolve. And as an infrastructure provider, if you come to me as a software engineer and you go, hey man, dude, Bitcoin's fucking cool and I want to build an exchange. And I'm like, all right, mad. You're going to take 6 to 12 months after we have this conversation to get your product live. Like, you can't just say, hey, I want to build an exchange. Oh, cool, I got my exchange now. Like, you're going to have to do some stuff. So it's going to be, let's say, 3 to 6 months or something until you go to market. So when you sell infrastructure to people, you got to remember you're skating to where the puck's going because they're not going to go to live with your product straight away. So if they go live with their product 6 months from now, but the product I gave them 6 months ago is redundant or it's not current or it's missing features that should have been there, that's a hard part to be. So when one of the things, the forcing functions of an infrastructure company, you've got to know what's going to happen before it happens. And that's a really weird thing because you basically have to predict the future because we need to be 2 years ahead of the industry so that people that build with us are going to be 1 year ahead.
How did you go about doing that? Like thinking 2 years ahead?
Oh, dude, that was just data and observation and iteration. And I'll tell you the best thing, here it is. So firstly, you've got to have a lot of smart people that are all very engaged in the community because everything is going to be driven by emotions in the community. So if you're just a software engineer and you're a really good software engineer, but you got no interest in Bitcoin, but you can still build the exchange, you come second to last because you're going to get eaten alive. Because just like with passion and purpose, I can't work at McDonald's all day, every day for the rest of my life. Now, could I work on something that I'm passionate about? Building a Lego set as a kid. I love that. I'm not working. That's mad. It's like, well, actually you're working by building these things. It's like, it doesn't feel like work to me, and it's like, if it doesn't feel like work, that's great because you can go forever. There's no resilience factor. It's like, no. I eat and sleep and breathe this because I like it. I don't feel like I'm working. So you're never going to work a day in your life if you never feel like you're working. Like, that saying, do what you love, you never work a day. No, literally, you won't because it'll never feel like work. And so if you surround yourself with a bunch of people like that, then you've got a lot of smart minds. Now, the next problem you face is having a lot of smart people isn't good. Having a lot of vocal smart people is good. And the more vocal you are, the better everyone is off. Now, what a really interesting thing to think about is a term. Are you familiar with a term called psychological safety?
No.
Mate, this is the best piece of advice I can give anyone everywhere, blah, blah, blah. In building a company or whatever. So you're surrounded by smart people, or actually psychological safety. Let's talk about it. What it is, psychological safety is the ability to speak freely in any context. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say we're sitting here and we're in a business meeting or a work meeting, and you've got a question to ask. You should ask, you're like, I don't want to feel like the idiot though. I'm going to feel like the idiot. No, be the idiot. Be the idiot and ask the question because most of the time, everyone else doesn't want to be the idiot. And psychological safety, the reason why I'll talk about it is in Google, they did a performance review of all the best teams in Google and how they did. So Google's got a lot of employees, they're very data driven and a lot of teams. So out of all the top performing teams, so let's get the top 100 performing teams. Okay, do they have anything in common? Well, no, not really, but the top 10 of the top 100, they all have this huge outlier of a really high marker. And it's like, oh, what's the high outlier? What's the marker? It's the marker called psychological safety. Oh, what's that? Psychological safety, basically you've got a team of 10 engineers. You've got the smartest dude in the world with 20 years experience. You've got the dumb kid that's, 18 and he's worked 6 months, but he doesn't know a lot. If both of them can speak, hey, I think we should try that. And this, like the smart, he's not going to feel inferiority or anything like that. So there's no stupid questions. Basically, that's the mantra to set. No stupid questions. Because if you've got 10 people, everyone working around you, they're smart because you hired them. You want to get everything out of there. Give me all of it. Like, don't hold back. No, is there anything stupid? Yeah, heaps of stupid questions. So I used to always, as a CEO, like the fish rots from the head in all contexts, right? So that's a good and a bad thing. If you want to be a CEO, that's fine. But know that the bullet's got your name on it, rightfully so. But, again, like the idea is that you can speak freely and there's never a problem because you want all hands on deck. And without that, you don't have all hands on deck.
Did that become like a value or how did you culturally?
100%. That was a huge thing. One of the biggest things was me being the biggest idiot in the room every time. And usually I am because I'm dumb. No, lots of people are naturally very smart. I'm not. I need to ask the same thing 1,000 times. I need to do the same thing 1,000 times, whatever it is. But that's how I figure it out. And I always tried to demonstrate that because if I can ask, the CEO just asked, that stupid question. He should already know that. It's like, he does know that. He's trying to make sure everyone else feels okay. It's like Billy Madison. Yeah, I peed my pants. Everyone else peed their pants. But peeing my pants is cool. Being stupid, asking stupid questions is cool. Do it. I do it. You should do it. It's not cool to not know the answer to something if you need to know the answer to it. like, you know? And so these are all subtleties, but those are the biggest value adds. If you're in an environment where someone's got, you know, more weight to speak over someone else and the other person won't speak because they feel talked down to or something, you're one step to dead. And I would say that because we had 100 competitors and we smoked almost all of them because most of them weren't. We were like a team of misfits. So we weren't the standard, you know, Stanford, Harvard, Uber for 4 years, then I went to Google, then Meta. No, we're like the opposite, the odd bods, but we all just jammed together. Do you know what I mean? And that brought us to a lot of success. It obviously has its problems with that as well. But for us, like I couldn't have asked for anything, you know, in that story better. Now, the company and its survival and resilience and stuff like that, when you're selling something, so the transaction in the end, the 1.5 billion USD, yeah, it's so nuts. But here's the funny thing: so that vaporizes. You know, deals go ahead and they fall through. So we had 3 or 5 different opportunities or paths to take the company. Obviously, one of them was maintaining and keep going. The other was selling it. It was a really precarious situation. So I'd stepped down from CEO about 2 years before this, and my co-founder Yanni had taken it over. And shout out to Yanni. He knows I love him, and you know we're still tight and all that. But you know he's put in a very hard position, and the markets were really tough. The markets were going crazy in 2022. You had the Ukraine war. You had all these energy issues. You had VC capital drying up because SBF had just taken everyone to the cleaners. And it was just, dude, it was so gnarly. But I think like a lot of the things are like, if this is the wheel, this is the next internet, right? If Bitcoin is like that, I feel like the luckiest person on the planet to get dropped into the middle of it when it's all happening, and being the dude working on the engine that's powering everyone coming into the space. That's like, I don't think you couldn't, there's no amount of money that's worth. This is brand new technology that we've never seen. And some bozo from Australia got to watch everything as it's happening. Like, cool, that's exciting, you know? But to me, it was such a beautiful learning experience. All the good, all the bad. You know, I had to let go of, 15 people in one day, face to face, sitting down like this. That's really hard. That's really, really hard to do. And one of the things, and these are people, by the way, remember, these are all your friends. You work 14 hours a day. Like my co-founder and I literally had our bedroom in the office. Like this is what's up. It's literally exactly what you think. Bunk beds, video games, and just grinding and coding. Like that was pretty much the genesis of it all. But, with these problems, like let's say you got to sit down now, you got to fire people that they might be your best friend. That's something I've had to do before, and you've had to let go of people. But at the end of the day, you work for the logo, right? If I'm the CEO of the company, I work for the shareholders. And so if all my team members, if I got 150 10 members or 120, and they're all stockholders, I work for them. So if you're dead weight and you're a stockholder, you're my boss. I have to let you go so that I can make those things that you're holding, the shares, worth something. And if I don't, I'll keep you happy, but your bags aren't going to get heavier, bags. And so that's a weird way to think about it. But at the end of the day, like that was part of the exit interview. I sent them a letter to everyone. I said, hey guys, you can call me anytime. I'll give a reference. And it's not about their performance. It's about, at the end of the day, it's the CEO's fault for getting a company in a position where they need to let go of 15 people because it means there's operating in something that you didn't foresee or an efficiency that you didn't predict or something. So, it's a good learning curve. But man, that's really hard because it's like sending people into a meat grinder and you'd have to go out and you have to go into the office and you got, a team, like a warehouse full of people sitting there at the desk and you got to call someone's name, but everyone knows that they're not sure if they're the next one to get called. And is it like, oh my God, it's hard. And these people, you've been playing ping pong with them, video games, drinking, studying, learning, growing, changing, traveling, like, it's as close to, like you see these people more than your family because you're there for 15 hours a day.
Tell me something.
Yeah. Does that make sense, by the way? So am I making sense? No. Just pause me at any time.
It's making a lot of sense. I just want to know, like, take me back because Bolt was the company that was looking to, when did you, talk me through the, where you were when you heard, what 1.5 billion we want to buy you? Are you in a meeting room? Are you on a beach?
That's a good question. Where was I? I was on a run. Actually, I was running in Rose Bay and I got a message with the term sheet or what they were proposing from the board. I was like, oh, sick. But look, one of the things that happens when you're a founder or an entrepreneur and you go through the fundraising process, you get very familiar with the term. It's not money in the bank until it's money in the bank. And so I'm the opposite. I'm very manage my expectations. And I used to have a mantra at work, and we did actually, which was always planning for the best, planning for the worst, hoping for the best, because it means we plan for everything, right? We plan for everything to happen. I hope the good path happens, but if not, we've got all the redundancies lined up. And you become an expert in redundancies basically, because you're like, well, shit, if that term sheet doesn't come in, then we've got to have this, this, and this on the backup just in case. Or if our banking partner goes down, well, we've got to have this, this, and this just in case, And so you get used to this idea that no one's going to do their job properly and you've got to have 5 of everyone doing everything. Which is like, it's sort of just, that's good business, basically, making sure you've got redundancy so your customers aren't falling short. Yeah, so I heard about it. And look, Bolt's an interesting company. I don't really have anything to say about them because I don't know them as well. But look, I've got my own perspectives on things. Like I do a lot of mentoring and investing in the space. So I've got a good eye on companies that I like and don't like. Bolt made sense at the time because I think with the markets and the space, like there were other opportunities as well. There's one for 140 million in cash, and there's one for 400 million in equity in that company. And then there's one for 1 billion in equity in a better company. And so you're starting to you're laying out these options and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think I'd stepped off the board and was just observing or advising and stuff. And I got plenty of say in it, but I just said, I had reservations about the transaction at the time, just because I felt like there was something that wouldn't make sense. You can see these things that you can go, okay, well, there's risky elements between here and the end of the transaction that can, risky pieces of the puzzle, but all that considered, okay, we'll go for it. So it's a very circumstantial, I would say. So, people go, oh, but if that didn't happen, like let's say if you sold to a different company and all this stuff, or the Bolt stuff didn't happen, what would you have gotten out of everything? Like what would you have gotten? I go, like I said, I've been at the heartbeat of what's going to be the invention of the wheel. Like I've gotten to see that firsthand and also help contribute to its growth, right? Help 1 million people buy Bitcoin for the first time. That's really cool. And that's like, when I think about that, it's like, does that add value to someone's life? I think the value that Bitcoin's added to my life is tremendous. And it's not just like, cool, you made money. It's like, no, dude, you're going to realize all of the stuff that is like basically in this fiat system that we've got, buy the car, buy the handbag, it's all junk. It's not only is it all junk, it's preying on you to believe it's not junk. And that's the thing, like Apple, why would Apple hire the head of LVMH to come in and help them with their products? Because Apple sells spec products, which is computer products, right? If I give you a computer, this one's got 1 megabyte of RAM, that one's got 1 megabyte of RAM. Okay, why would you ever pay more for one? We need to figure out a way to get your heart involved into the product purchase. And so Apple became a design company, and there's a lot more to just the product. It's I am an Apple user. I've got an iPhone user. I get blue messages from you. I've got the silver laptop at the coffee cart or the coffee, the what is it called? A cafe. I'm a fucking idiot. But you know what I mean? It becomes a branding exercise now, because now if you're brand conscious, I can sell you something that's worth $1,000 for $2,000. Easily. And that's what literally fashion is, by the way. So after you start realizing how valuable something can be, you set a new bar for what you believe is valuable in your own life, because you're like, okay, fuck, all right, well, what is valuable then? Because what would I sell my Bitcoin for? It's like, oh, I'll tell you what, you're not going to sell your Bitcoin to go buy the new Gucci jacket next year. And if you do, you shouldn't hold Bitcoin in the first place, because it's like you have a golden goose. It's a golden goose that will keep laying eggs for you. So think about this. Okay, this is one example I'll give. If you buy fruit, you never have to buy that fruit ever again. Now, you do buy fruit more than once because you don't have the time to wait for it to grow. So if I buy strawberries, I can take the seeds from the strawberries, plant them, water it, wait 6 months, 12 months, I got a strawberry tree. Fruit is an infinite thing. You got seeds in it, plant them, wait, you get more of it. Bitcoin's the exact same thing. Buy it, wait, you will have more of this fiat dollar. Just like you got more strawberries from your strawberry tree, you're going to have more dollars from your Bitcoin tree. Exact same thing. Fascinating to think about though.
For someone listening to this who, let's say they're looking to go S&P, to invest, they're looking maybe property. Let's just say they've got 500K.
Yeah.
Long-term hold.
Long-term, 10 plus years.
10 plus years. And be honest here.
Yeah.
Do you think they're an idiot for not investing into Bitcoin?
No one's an idiot for it because, and I mean this because I'm the same. I didn't invest in it when I first saw it. No one does because we have no clue how smothered we are with noise. So signal, noise. Signal, noise. We've got to separate the two. Right now, there's a lot of noise everywhere in day-to-day society. So let's imagine you wake up, kids screaming, rushing for the bus. Then you get on the bus. You finally get this moment of peace to drink your coffee that you got at the bus stop. Now you get to work. Bang, you're in work mode. Not thinking about anything else. Going, oh, boss is on my ass. Yeah, I'll get the email to Jimmy. Oh, how fun was the Christmas party? Yeah, cool. Work mode. Now you finish work mode. Maybe you've gone to the gym. Maybe you've got a moment to yourself. You come home. Kids, cleaning, cooking, bed, rinse, repeat. People don't have a chance at understanding Bitcoin in that environment. You don't have a chance. So I never think anyone's an idiot for not buying it. There's two schools of thought. One, you don't have enough time to figure out it's a golden goose, and that's really unfortunate. Or two, you're old and established and you already know what you know. And that's so like a lot of people go to me, they're like, oh, go talk to this person. They're worth a lot of money and they want to learn about Bitcoin. And they'll be like, oh, what an idiot. Why wouldn't they get into it? Warren Buffett, why will you hold Bitcoin? Look, the one thing that very successful people usually have in common is that they back themselves and they've gotten there by backing themselves. So if a property guy doesn't want to learn about being 68 and he's retired, I go, mate, you're an idiot. He goes, like, he doesn't know anything about it, so he doesn't need to. There's no incentive. If he's worth 50 million, I don't need to figure it out again. I figured it out. In my time, I figured it out as property. Now, you might have a new thing called Bitcoin, but I don't need to figure it out. Now, if he's got grandkids or something or whatever, then yeah, you want to keep the party going by making sure his wealth doesn't melt past his death. That's a different conversation. But I get it. People are just, the one thing I think, people are so smothered with noise. Like, this is a real deal, guys. Like, this isn't a test run. You get one life, not two lives, not maybe sort of, not a restart from a save game and a video game. One life. When are we going to learn about it? Money. Is money important to you? Yes. I'll tell you how important it is. There is not a single thought that you've had any day of your life that doesn't factor money into it. Hey, man, come to the beach with me. Yes or no? No. Why? I bet whatever comes out of your mouth, there is a money element associated with it. Hey, dude, we're all going away for my 20th birthday. I can't. What? Money issue. And if it's not money issue, it's a time issue. And the time issue is because of a money issue. So everything is money. So if you're not learning about money right now, what are you investing your time in that you can claim is more important than that? Oh, I don't need to know about money. Yes, you do. Don't do what you love. Do what makes you money in the easiest way possible first. Then you can do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we're not thinking. Like, and this is why I mean it's like crazy because it's like, hold on, the train is leaving the station. Buy Bitcoin, be lazy. Buy Bitcoin, be lazy, and read about it. If I'm wrong, come at me with a gun. I'll cut my own head off. That's fine. Totally fine.
I want to just quickly rewind back because I did ask you a question about some voices and you obviously said, sorry. You said the first thing to do is obviously study money and I totally agree.
Okay, 3, I'm going to give you bangers, straight shots to the dome, links, all this. The first book you need to read is called The Bitcoin Standard.
Bitcoin Standard.
It's a bit dense, but it teaches you about money. That is what is money? Now, after you read that, or if you're not a reader and you get the audio book, or if you just don't like bothering with that, the next one is called Robert Breedlove, What is Money? He did a whole series, 6 parts with Saylor. I think it was a Saylor series, but anyway, he's basically done a whole bunch on explaining money. So money isn't the thing that the Apple Pay. No. Money is the reason why wars start. Money is the reason people die. Money is the reason governments give a shit. Money is it. This is not like, money to some people is more valuable than oxygen. They are so hypnotized by it. It'll compromise their life, their everything, because it's like they're possessed, you know? But we don't have any other scoreboard. It's not like we go to school and they talk about, you know, how are you going to, you know, add value to the world? What's your purpose? What's your superpower? Because in the end of the day, one of the beautiful things about being a human being is that everyone has a superpower. We are all one of one. So Bitcoin's cool because it's one of 21 million. We're one of one. You're one of one. I can never be you. You can never be me. But that's the superpower. That means you have a perspective on the world that has never, ever been seen before. And you get to give that gift to everyone. So we can all level up as a species trying to figure out, how are we going to get through this? This is a shit fight. Our money's fucking trash. Everyone, the housing market's up, blah, blah, blah. You know, what are we going to do? So I think back to your question, sorry, Fiat, the Bitcoin Standard is a book by Safadine Amos. Forgive me the pronunciation. What is Money series with Robert Breedlove and then Michael Saylor, anything that Michael Saylor has done. Yeah, that's what I would say. Dude.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you follow a guy, Raoul Pal?
Raoul Paul? Yeah. Like I know his stuff. Look, I think that's one. Look, he's a smart dude, but I don't want people to go for the smart guys. I want them to understand the philosophy first, because it's like you got to know you got to really see this problem. Now, here's the thing: the West. So people in Sydney and stuff, we're behind. The people in front are the people in South America, Brazil, Argentina, Kenya, like all that stuff, because they know what money is, because money has been so problematic for them. If you're in Zimbabwe and your currency is going up, if your currency changes week over week between whether you can buy toilet paper or you can buy a car with your money, that's insane, right? Like, that's ridiculous. You can't have a money that works like that. Like, if the Australian dollar, if I went and buy a coffee, it's $4 today, it's $18 tomorrow, and it's minus 38 cents the next day, it doesn't make sense. So you can't have a standard. That's why in Kenya, they created M-Pesa. M-Pesa was mobile money minutes. So it's basically phone call minutes. But they were like, dude, our Kenyan Pesa or whatever it is, it's cooked. Can I just sell you minutes? Yeah, dude, I take minutes, you take minutes. So the whole M-Pesa economy organically grew as digital money because they had a problem to solve. We don't think of the problems. Inflation's starting to breathe down our neck now as a Western society. We're not meant to have inflation. We're starting to feel like Zimbabwe. So all the people in Argentina and all this stuff, they've seen the value in Bitcoin far earlier because they go, oh, this is money. It can't be debased. Our government's printing money. That's why our currency is so bad. And so they've already gotten in. So the Western world is almost, they're established and stuff, but they see the pain point. The other guys see the pain point because a lot of our work was done outside of America, providing infrastructure to, EU, Asia, whatever it is. And we'd see all the different perspectives. And so when you see, we don't realize that, we go, oh, what's the savings rate in an ING account? Oh, 2%. Oh, that's shit. So people go, dude, what's the savings rate? Not minus 40% inflation? Mad. So when you talked about Bitcoin to someone in Colombia or Argentina, it's stable. You mean if I've got one Bitcoin today, I get one Bitcoin, I'll have one Bitcoin next year? Yeah. It's like, oh, because in my currency, if I've got 50,000 pesos, it's worth nothing now. Like, if you converted $1 million into, what is it? The Colombian, Venezuelan, it'd be worth like $1.10 6 years later. So that was, now, like if in 2013, if you put $1 million into their currency, it'd be worth $1. And fiat's going the same way. It's all can only go one way because it's the way the machine is designed. And Bitcoin is the one that says, so wait, let me get this straight. Everyone on Earth, World War D, by the way, not World War III, that's what's here. World War D, World War Debt. Every country has the same enemy. There's not one country that's void of it. It's like this ephemeral ghost of an enemy that everyone's like, trying to punch, but they can't hit it. The only way to get out of debt this fast is Bitcoin. And that's what Trump's going to do. So Trump's going to do that. And then Australia's going to follow suit. We're going to get Australian dollar unfucked. We're going to uncook our economy. We're going to start producing shit here instead of selling all of our natural resources. And we're going to see this huge sovereign conversation go on, I think. So Anyway, I've just been drinking the Kool-Aid for 10 years. What's up? Dude.
Thank you so much, man. Like, it's so awesome to hear like how passionate you are.
Yeah.
And just to connect and get your perspective.
Yeah, mate. Thank you. It's great
amazing.
to see you. I mean, it's awesome. And you know what? Here, like, and if I could say anything, I know we're probably running out of time, but like, just do future you a favor and just, even if you think you're gambling, go for Bitcoin, go for broke, 10 years, plan long, fuck 1 year, fuck 2 years, fuck 3 years, plan for 10, 15, 20 years. Where are you going somewhere in 3 years? No, you're going to retirement. Start thinking that way. And the best way to do it, I would say, the best lowest hanging fruit for exposure would be converting Bitcoin in your superannuation. So that's probably a banger for people. So if you don't want to, you go, oh man, I got no cash to buy Bitcoin. No worries. You've got superannuation. Right now, it's in bozo's land, invested in retarded products that suck. Buy Bitcoin is not an argument. This is the answer. And if you want to listen, you can. You don't have to. No obligations. Buy Bitcoin, outperform every single person that you've met, know, or any friend that you've got, and you're fine. 10 years. It's going to be stuck there. You can't do anything with it. You may as well put it in the highest growing asset on earth year over year for 15 years. Actually, 1 year it wasn't the fastest growing asset on earth, and that was when the US dollar had a better year than it. But other than that, 15 years out of 16 years sounds like a pretty good track record. And if you need 30 years data to make the investment, you're left behind.
Michael Dunworth, thank you so much.
Good to see you, bro.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, mate.